please welcome to the stage Jamie Brickhouse.
So I'm standing next to my older brother, Ronnie, on the day that our mother, Mama Jean, died, a week before Christmas, 2009. Ronnie is still in his roofer overalls, and we're standing at the entrance to Mama Jean's bedroom down in Beaumont, Texas. And we're staring at her giant, empty, king-size bed. She died in hospice earlier that day. And Ronnie looks at me and he says, "Tell me something, Pank. What are they gonna do with the body?" Well, what do you mean, what are they gonna do with the body? They're gonna put it in the coffin and then bury her. Well, can't they just stuff her and put her on the bed? So then we can look at her and she won't yell at us anymore? Ronnie, what are you talking about? You know, like they did in that Madonna movie you took us to Christmas of '94. Evita? Yeah, that's it. Evita Perón's body had been embalmed and put in a glass coffin to be put on display. Now, Mama Jean used to always say that Ronnie marches to the beat of a different drummer to explain his peculiar brand of wisdom. He's a Forrest Gump type who processes the world with a combination of childlike wonder and the brutal honesty of a drunk. Now, I'm gay, no surprise, a writer, live in New York, and listen to show tunes. Ronnie is a proud redneck, a roofer, has always lived in Beaumont, and worships Neil Diamond. How we came out of the same womb, I'll never know. He's actually my half-brother. His father died when he was just a toddler, and Mama Jean married my father. But of course, the one thing we have in common was the all-consuming, domineering love of Mama Jean. So we're standing there looking at that king-size bed, and Ronnie makes another proclamation. "I'm telling you, Pank, Mama is up there in heaven right now, and she's reunited with my father, and she's getting a Neil Diamond welcome." I knew Neil Diamond played the world, but heaven? Mama Jean ruled that house from that king-size bed. I mean, one minute she would look at us and a smile would spread across her face and she would say, "Oh, God, I love you so much. You'll just never know how much I love you." And the next minute she'd yell, "God damn it!" and tell us what we were doing wrong to fuck up our lives. But Ronnie spent at least about one night a week genuflecting at the altar of that king-size bed. She wouldn't let him sit on the bedspread. Which, by the way, she usually was lounging in a floral caftan that matched the floral bedspread, which matched the floral headboard, which matched the floral wallpaper, which matched the floral drapes. Her not-so-secret garden. But Ronnie was always at the foot of that bed because she wouldn't let him sit on the bedspread because he was in his dirty overalls. And he told her everything. Everything about, you know, how his roofing business was going, to the upcoming concert dates he had booked for Neil Diamond, to his adventures at the Booby Rock, his titty bar of choice in nearby Houston. "Mama, I'm gonna take you there sometime. You gotta see these girls." "Ronnie, I don't need to go there. Now, what do you, I don't even want to hear this. Mama, I'm telling you, those girls are amazing. And there's this one girl, she can spin those tassels in opposite directions, and when she gets going, it blows my mind. Mama, the woman has talent. Talent." "Ronnie, I don't need to hear this." I think she really did like hearing that. And I did my own time on that king-size bed, usually when I was down visiting at Christmas time, and I would indulge her, and, well, I didn't tell her about my favorite go-go boys at the cock and ball bars that I frequented in New York. But I did indulge her and watched her favorite movie musical, Moulin Rouge, over and over and over. And I would hold her hand while we were watching it. Dutiful gay son that I am. And dutiful gay son that I am, I picked out her final burial outfit. A red floor-length evening gown, which she loved to wear at her Christmas parties that my father and she gave about every year. And before I took it to the funeral home, I laid it out on her king-size bed. And I pulled out my digital camera. This was before I had an iPhone. And I took a few photos. And I was trying to recreate a last image of her that looked like I knew her best, lying on that bed. And I was hoping to erase the actual last image of her, which was her dying in a hospital bed in an antiseptic hospice room. But when I looked at the photos on the camera, they didn't satisfy. I mean, it just looked like her headless, deflated ghost. But the next day, at the funeral parlor, during the private family viewing of her body, I looked down at her in the casket. And you know how people say at funerals, "Oh, she looks so natural, so at peace." And it's rarely true. Well, in her case, it was. I mean, the funeral parlor did a good job of doing her hair, coiffing it to a perfect bubble in a helmet, just like she always wore it. And the makeup was done just so, like she always did it. And of course, she was supine, which was a natural position for her. I was used to seeing her that way. But it was the look on her face. She has this slight smile, as if she had just dozed off, and any second she'd open up her eyes and yell, "God damn it, why'd you wake me?" Or, "God, I love you so much." And when I was alone with the body, instinctively, I pulled out my digital camera and I took photos of her. But I kept looking over my shoulder, paranoid that someone would walk in and catch me, because I felt kind of creepy and kind of weird and like it was wrong and, I don't know, maybe disrespectful. But then I thought, why? I mean, the ancient Greeks and Romans did the same thing in the form of the death mask. So why not this? And I don't know what I was going to do with those photos. I mean, I don't think I was going to frame them. But I needed to possess that last image of her. So I stayed down there for the next couple of weeks through Christmas, and I don't remember much about that Christmas, just that she wasn't there. But then I rented a car because I needed a little bit of break from the family, and I drove over to Houston, not to go to the Booby Rock, but to see a good friend of mine who was having a party. And it was a nice respite, and I, took a bunch of pictures together at the party. And when I got back to Beaumont, I thought I better upload those pictures and send them to my friend. And I'm looking around in my overnight bag for the camera, and it's not there. Like, shit. All those good photos I took at the party. And then I realized the photos, the last images of Mama Jean, were on that camera. I freaked out. I called my friend in Houston. I didn't tell her what was on that camera, but I said, did I leave my camera there? And she tore up her house and she couldn't find it. I thought maybe I left it in the rental car. So I called the rental car company and I told them that I may have left the camera there, but I needed that camera back. And they were pretty good, and they got back to me the next day. Good news. The last renter of the car had found the camera underneath the driver's seat. Shwoo. So I go to the rental car agency and I pick up the camera, and I'm so anxious about those photos. I almost check it right then, but then I get a little paranoid because I'm like, I don't want to see the clerk to see my dead mother on the phone. So I wait until I get home, and I check the camera. Nothing. The photos from that party in Houston, gone. The photos of my deflated mother's ghost on the king-size bed, gone. And those last images of her in the coffin, gone. Who the fuck would erase someone's dead mother from their camera? But seriously, it was like a gut punch. It was like one more wave of loss. So fast forward a year later, and I'm back down in Beaumont for Christmas, and the family's decided to be low-key this Christmas. I mean, Christmas had always been a big deal with Mama Jean. I mean, she had a giant Christmas tree, and that house was decorated within an inch of its life, and of course, she and my father had those annual Christmas parties at which we were expected to attend. So this year we decided no gifts, and we were just gonna have a small family dinner. Which was too bad about the no gifts, because It was always easy for me to get a gift for Ronnie because I just had to get him anything Neil Diamond or Elvis Presley related, and I succeeded. Now, Ronnie never knew what to get for me, so he would just give some money to Mama Jean, and she would pick out a gift for me. And I hadn't talked to Ronnie much in that year. And frankly, I was a little bit worried about him because I was worried about how he was dealing with the loss of Mama Jean. And all the family friends kept asking about Ronnie. How's Ronnie doing? How's he doing without his mother? So I took him out to dinner. And we meet at La Cantina Mexican restaurant. And Ronnie struts in wearing a 10-gallon cowboy hat and a red and black Yamaha windbreaker and black jeans held up by a platter-sized silver belt buckle big enough to serve chips and guacamole off of. Even in Beaumont, Ronnie stands out. So how you doing, Ronnie? I'm doing all right, Pank. By the way, he's been calling me Pank since I was in junior high. And I don't know if it's a Texas twanged version of pink, because I used to wear pink Oxford cloth shirts, or maybe his subliminal mind was telling him that his little brother was queer. Anyway, he looks at me and he says, Pank, it's been blowing my mind to think that Mama is up there in heaven, reunited with my father. Which is not to say she's forgotten about your father, or pushed him aside. On the contrary, when it's your father's turn to die, he'll be buried on the other side of Mama, and then he'll go up to heaven and join them. But he and my father are going to have to take turns with Mama. Do you know what swingers are? Yeah. Well, my father and your father are going to swing. They don't call it heaven for nothing. Okay. I glanced out the window at the parking lot to chew on that nugget. And I see Ronnie's truck out there. And I see Mama Jean. She's flashing her 1,000-watt smile, red lipstick, her bubble of brunette hair, a red feather boa. Ronnie has taken her obit photo, blown it up, laminated it, and slapped it on the truck door. He's written underneath in red magic marker, Jean Brickhouse, 1934, 2009. God bless. Now, it wasn't a complete shock because my father had already told me about it, but seeing is believing. And my father was actually mortified about it. He said, my God, your mother would die if she knew he was running around with that on the side of his truck. Too late, I wanted to say. And then I thought of my homage to Mama Jean. I had taken her black and white 1965 wedding photo in which she's sporting a giant bouffant flip, and I placed it in an antique Art Deco vitrine in my apartment. Same concept. Different execution. So Ronnie, I'm thinking about going to the cemetery while I'm down here. Have you been? Yeah, I go all the time. Go about once a week, as a matter of fact, and I talk to her. Oh, I guess in his mind, he had just moved that king-size bed from her house to the graveyard. And when I'm talking to her, I know what she looks like. What do you mean, what she looks like? Of course you know what she looks like. No! I mean, we saw her body in the coffin before they put it in the ground. So I know what she's wearing when I'm talking to her. Oh, well, yeah, I picked out her outfit. And I know the look she has on her face. Oof, that look. Knew what he was talking about, and it was another gut punch. It brought back those erased photos. And then I told Ronnie what I had never told another living soul. I told him what I had done, that I'd taken photos of her in the coffin and about losing the camera and the photos being erased. Well, yeah, I did the same thing. What? Yeah, I took pictures of Mom in the coffin too. Really? I was always stunned when Ronnie and I had the same instincts. But not more than this time. Yeah, I've got prints out in my glove compartment. I'll have some copies made for you at Walgreens if you want. He said this as casually as if he were gonna lend me a pair of jumper cables. Now, here I was, worried about how Ronnie was processing his grief. Meanwhile, I wasn't even sure if there was an afterlife, but I was busy booking memorial Catholic masses for the repose of her soul. And I was riding the subway with my iPod and her playlist of her music on there and sobbing uncontrollably in public. But Ronnie had it all figured out. He knew where to find her when he needed to talk to her, the graveyard. And he was absolutely certain that she was up there in heaven having a swinging good time. After dinner, we went out to the parking lot and he pulled those photos from his glove compartment, showed them to me. Yep, just like I remembered. The hair, the makeup, that look on her face. She looked like my mother. I handed him back to Roddy and he said, "You ought to go out to the cemetery and talk to her. She can hear you." And then he got into his truck and he slammed his door. And there was Mama Jean's photographic ghost smiling back at me. Wow. Ronnie had just given me the most amazing Christmas gift that neither he nor I could have ever imagined him picking out. And as he drove away, I heard him crank up his stereo. And at that moment, I was absolutely certain that Mama Jean was up there in heaven getting her Neil Diamond welcome. Thank you.